Welcome to Faith Walk Life Talk podcast. We embark on a journey through the untold stories of the Bible's unsung heroines. Join us as we deep dive into the lives of remarkable women whose narratives are often overlooked, but carry profound wisdom and inspiration. From their triumphs to their trials, we'll uncover the timeless lessons embedded in their journeys, lessons that resonate powerfully with women today. Get ready for engaging, thought-provoking, and sometimes delightfully humorous conversations that shed new light on the remarkable women of the Bible. Welcome to a podcast that promises to enlighten, uplift, and entertain. Welcome to Faith Walk Life Talk podcast. I'm your host, Elder Empress. Welcome to another episode of Faith Walk Life Talk podcast. I'm your host, Elder Empress, and I'm yet faith walking in my stilettos. Today, we're going to discuss the cost of covenant compromise. Due to the resounding response to the Ruth and Naomi episode, Mother-in-law, Daughter-in-Love, I began to start to research about the other side of the coin. When our children marry spouses that are not aligned to the covenant. And I saw three powerful men that give a resounding example of this situation. So today we're going to talk about Esau. The Bible talks about how Esau took wives from foreign nations. We're going to discuss Samson. He gives an example. And then, of course, Solomon, the richest and the wisest king of the East, had an appetite for foreign women. And so what is the cost of when we enter into covenant and we compromise in our alignment with God? And so these powerful men made some decisions and paid a very high price. So for instance, Esau. We know who Esau is, right? Well, we know that Esau is the twin brother of Jacob. His parents were Rebekah and Isaac. And so while Jacob was charged by Isaac to find wives from his relatives, we see that Esau decided to choose Canaanite women. And this brought grief to his parents. And so it was so grievous to his parents that he then decided to take another wife from Ishmael, his uncle. And so we see that Esau had 3 foreign wives. And then there is Samson. He is noted as to be the strongest man in the Bible. Samson was from birth, from the womb, had a Nazarite vow that was placed upon his life. But he had an appetite for foreign women. He married a Philistine woman, and that didn't last very long. He married her against his parents' wishes, and she betrayed him, literally at the wedding. He then was found, there's an account in the Word where he has relations with a harlot in Gaza, and then the love of his life, Delilah, who ultimately was responsible for his downfall. And so then we see Solomon. Solomon had 700 wives. All of them were foreign wives. He had a harem of wives. He loved women. And so everywhere he went, he would just get a wife. He had 700 wives, 300 concubines. This man was the man that built the temple for God. He was the wisest, he was the richest, but his weakness was women. And so we see that the choices that these powerful men made cost them a lot. For Esau, we see that his choices showed that he chose desire over destiny, and he was led by his appetite over alignment. Samson's choices caused him heartbreak and caused him betrayal. And for Solomon, it caused him to build altars to idols and ultimately turned his heart away from God. There was a spiritual cost and a physical cost to these choices, which brings us to the question, what does unequally yoked look like? When you think about unequally yoked, bring to mind how it originated. So they would yoke two animals together of different kinds. And you would see that one animal would go one direction and the other animal would go another direction, or one would go faster than the other. And they were never able to work together. So unequally yoked means that you join covenant with someone who doesn't share your beliefs or your values. And it ultimately brings an imbalance to the relationship and chaos. And so the Bible explicitly tells us in 2 Corinthians 6:14, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, for they have nothing in common. So we as believers, we have to understand that when we agree to entering into covenant, we understand the miracle of what we're doing. We're saying that two people are becoming one flesh. That's the mystery of marriage. And so when you are unequally yoked, and that does not have to just be in belief, it can be in values. For instance, we've seen it all the time. You will see a couple that they both go to church, they both believe in God, but they don't share the same values. And so it brings tension and it brings chaos and conflict into the relationship. And many times as parents, we can see it along the road when we see our children aligning with those who don't ascribe to what we believe, or they are not someone that will help facilitate the purpose and the plan God has for you. But sometimes along the way, we give into the appetite and not into what God has for us. Sometimes we could find ourselves in spiritual incompatibility, where the person does not have what it takes to facilitate the oil that's on your life. And so unequally yoked can show up in many ways, in how you believe and what right and wrong looks like in your life. You can be unequally yoked in marriage, in relationships. You can be unequally yoked in business. You can be unequally yoked in just friendships. And so as a person of God, we have to be very sensitive to what this person brings to the table. Why are they aligned to my life? You see, Esau, when he saw that Isaac had charged Jacob to go back to his relatives and to pick a wife out of his relatives, then he decided, well, let me get a wife. But instead of him aligning to the model that Abraham had set for his lineage, he decided to choose a wife from the daughters of Ishmael. You see, Abraham gives us the model of being led of the Spirit and when deciding who we will align with in covenant. He tells his servant, go back to my kinsmen and choose a wife for my son. Swear to me that you will not choose a Canaanite woman. The servant goes back to Abraham's family and he begins to pray for insight and guidance. And while he's praying, Rebecca shows up on the scene, working, fulfilling all of the things that he asked God for in a wife for Isaac. But here's the thing. Not only did he see all of the qualities that he desired for Isaac, but he went back home with her and he asked for her hand in marriage for Abraham's son. He received the blessing. He begins to give the family gifts. He gives Rebecca gifts. And so we see traditionally that there was a family involvement when covenant was being established. The story of the servant that Abraham sent to receive a wife for Isaac brings to mind when he goes to Rebecca's family And Rebecca agrees to go back with him to be the wife of Isaac. The parting words the family gives Rebecca is considered the family blessing. They bless her, they bless her descendants, and they show a model of being in agreement with the covenant. Which brings to mind, how important is it to receive the family's blessing? Traditionally, the family's blessing was required before the two would get married. The family had a sit down, if you will, a discussion, and the groom's family would have to show that he was able to provide for the daughter. He would also have to show that he was serious about taking on the daughter to be his wife. He had to show that he was worthy of their daughter. And so in doing so, once he satisfied that the concerns of the daughter's family, the families then gave the blessing for the union. And so, we are in modern times, some of us are of the mindset, I love him, he loves me, we'll get married, we don't care who agrees, it's just he and I. But you have to keep in mind what you're doing and how it impacts others, and that it's not just me, he and I, it's the family. The blessing is important. And in many cultures today, there's a blessing that must be given before the engagement and before the marriage actually takes place. There's even the dowry, where there's gift giving. You see this even in the account of the servant when he is discussing Rebecca being the wife of Isaac. He gives gifts to Rebecca. He gives her gold bracelets and gold earrings, and he also gives gifts to the family. He wants to show that this family is a family of means, that she's going to be marrying a prince, and that he has all of the possessions that his father and his mother left him, and he is well capable of taking care of her. And so if I would leave with anyone today, those that are seeking to be married, those that are having talks about entering into covenant with their significant others, make sure that you're getting the blessing of the family, because it's the family that becomes ultimately your support system. They're the ones that will pray you through and give you the wise counsel when things get a little tough or when you have questions along the way. The family blessing is important. It's key to understanding that what you're doing and how you're entering into this covenant is a serious matter. It's not to be taken lightly. And so, yes, I would say from the perspective of a parent, we do have a right to say who our children marry. We do have a right to say, no, that one's not, we see something in that one and that one's not aligned. And we should be in a position to give the blessing. And so we should not use or weaponize that blessing because we don't want to give the blessing because we're not ready to let our children go. No, that's not what I'm saying. We give the blessing because we know that we rear our children, they leave their mother and father, and they cleave to their wives, the sons, and the daughters cleave to their husbands. And we give the blessing that they would succeed, and that their children would succeed, and that their descendants would succeed. And this is what we see in Scripture, the proper way to join in covenant. But I would like to say also, those that are compromising, there is a cost, and the cost is too costly for your destiny. Consider what your decision is and pray and ask God to align you with the right person, the right spouse, and that your families become the support system that you need. So the question really becomes, as parents, do we really have a right to choose our children's spouses? Is that a right? Is that still a thing? Can we decide who they should be aligned with? Now, I know. As parents, we sacrifice, we pour into our children, we bring them up in the fear of God, and we do all of these things because we are trying to make them the best woman or the best man to be for somebody's wife or somebody's husband. And when they come home sometimes with someone that you can full well see that will not align with them to get them where they're going in life, we can become very angry. Sometimes we start being very vocal about the person they're aligned with. Well, a wise woman said to me, never talk against the girlfriend. Whatever you do, never talk against them because then they stay longer. That was some wisdom that I heard as I was raising my boys. And so what I would suggest is talk to Jesus about it. He's the one that can sever their heart for anyone that's aligned to them that will prevent them from going where they need to go in life. And so I do think absolutely we do have a say. We have a say in being vocal and saying this young man or this young woman doesn't seem like they are aligned with where you're going in life. Have you prayed about it, son? Have you prayed about it, daughter? Can we pray about it? You see, it's not just your decision in who you marry. It is two becoming one. You ever been to a wedding and you see all of the different facets of the wedding? I know we get all caught up in the festivities, but there are some key things that are happening that symbolizes the unification of families. You know, when you see the bride and the groom and they take their candles, they simultaneously light them with one candle. They're symbolizing that we are unifying our families. Or when you see them, sometimes they will take a jar of sand and the groom would have his jar of sand and they would empty it together in one jar, signifying the unification of the family. And so this is not just a me and you, it's a us and we. When you are entering into covenant with the person you love. And so we have to be very mindful of how we make these decisions and make these choices. Have we consulted with God? Do they believe in the God that you believe in? Or do they serve the God that you serve? Do they have the prayer life that you have? Because if they love the Lord, then they will love you. That's the wisdom I want to leave with you. Any man, any woman that loves the Lord more than you will love you the way you need to be loved. And so this is a partnership that's being established. We see in these three instances, Esau, Samson, Solomon, unequally yoked and compromising in their covenants cost a great deal. They lost a lot. It was a high price to pay for men of God who were, they had assignments, they had alignment, they had a purpose to fulfill and divine destiny, and yet they allowed women, these ungodly women, to take them off course. So I'm not just talking to men, I'm talking to women as well. Who you align with, who you give your heart to, who you enter into covenant will impact your whole family. Now, I'm not talking about, as we did in the prior episode of Ruth and Naomi. This was simply Naomi embracing a foreign wife who had accepted the God that she served. Remember, she said, your God will be my God. But these men were openly accepting women who rejected his God or their gods. And so we don't want to walk with someone that's walking in a different direction. Marriage and covenant is already complicated. There's already spiritual warfare that happens the moment you enter into agreement. But when you're on the same page, And when you are agreed upon what God we're going to serve and how we're going to trust God for the path of our life and the path of our journey and even our lineage and the children and the generations that will come from our union, then we have a fighting chance. So what I want to leave with you on this episode is pray about it. When you are considering covenant, pray about it. Ask God, is this the person for me? Parents, be easy. I want you to be in alignment with prayer with your children. God, show them who they should align with. Show them their wife. Show them their husband. And if they're with someone that you see doesn't serve them, pray about it. Ask God to sever it in the spirit. Treat them well, because the way you treat them is ministry. And even though they're not supposed to be with your child, we still want to win their soul for the kingdom. Listen, if I've said anything at all that helped you, I want to hear your responses. I want to leave you with this. When purpose meets partnership, it should push you to your promise, not pull you away from it. I want you to leave your stories. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your takes. What do you think about this? Do we have a right to have a say in who our children marry? What is the price that you've paid, or you know someone who've paid a high price entering into covenant and compromising? Please, those who want to get married, it's not worth it. Don't compromise your values. Don't compromise your faith, but believe that God has the person that has been tailor-made just for you. And everything that you desire is all wrapped up into him. And he will find you. And there you will walk together. Two will then become one. And you will be the example of kingly and kingdom partnership and kingdom covenant, just the way God established it in the earth. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode, I want you to head on over to my YouTube page, and I want you to subscribe. I want to hear your comments. I want you to follow me on all of my platforms. You can hit me up on Instagram at Faith Walk Life Talk. You can hit me up on TikTok at Faith Walk Life Talk. And if you just want to follow me and watch me faith walk in my stilettos, you can hit me up on Facebook at Empress J. Armstead Henderson. Listen, in order to walk the walk, you must talk the talk. But most importantly, you must pray, girl. Until next time, see you later. Thanks again for joining us on Faith Walk Life Talk podcast. Stay connected with us by following our social media pages to catch all our latest episodes. If you enjoyed today's discussion, we greatly appreciate your feedback. Please take a moment to rate and review our podcast, as your input helps us to continually improve and deliver high quality content. I'm Empress Henderson, your podcast host. Until next time, keep walking in faith and living your best life. But most importantly, you must pray, girl. Until next time, we'll see you soon.